What is going on, guys? It is Fluxified here and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be diving deep into the latest devlog provided to us by the developers, devlog number 36. And while the developers do remain quite tight-lipped with us about the future of the game, I do think that there are quite a lot of clues for us to pick apart in this devlog. Now, the devlog, as with most, does provide several updates to what the developers have added to the game. This honestly consists of mostly just fixes, but we do actually have quite a positive change to Rust console, that being that the scientists now behave more naturally, finally. So basically, when you're shooting them now, they're not going to bounce up and down like they're trying to teabag the wall while you're shooting them. Honestly, that was one of the most annoying things on Oil Rig, so I am so glad that that has now been fixed. Separate to that, we now have a fully charged indicator on all batteries, so we don't have to guess now when the battery is fully charged. We also have a update to the roof placement, so when you're placing a roof that's facing towards you, the roof will be a lot easier to place now. When I've been trying to build bases in the past, this has been a bit of an issue, so I am glad to see that this is fixed. Now, separate to that, there is a very specific line in this devlog that I do want to pick apart, and that's that they have specifically said that they are rolling out some key performance fixes and quality of life improvements to make way for what's coming. Now, I think that's a very important line to pick apart because they are specifically mentioning that they have needed to make performance fixes to make way for the update that's coming. And I think that does reveal quite a lot about this update. For example, let's say they were giving us the missile silo, Arctic base, and junkyard, for instance. We already have quite big monuments in the game. We have launch site, we have oil rig, and those new monuments I just mentioned I don't think are bigger than oil rig and launch site. So I don't see why they'd have to specifically make performance focused fixes to include them. Especially like missile silo, it's below ground, so you wouldn't have to render above ground. So I don't think you'd need to have those performance fixes to add those. So I think it's very interesting because we have to think, okay, what would we need performance fixes to add? So let's say they add new weapons. We already have many weapons in the game. I don't think we need to make performance fixes for that either. So then we have to think, okay, so what would we need performance focused fixes for? So I think realistically, it has to be vehicles. We have to be getting some kind of vehicle in this update. Now, I know we all want to instantly say, okay, we're getting minicopters, but realistically, I'm still not too sure on that. I think that that would have to be a major performance optimization, especially for last gen consoles. So I'm not really too sure if minis is what we're getting, and I'm honestly leaning a little bit more towards modular cars or motorbikes. Now, I have talked about this in the past. I think motorbikes would be the easiest thing for the developers to add here. They literally would just need to move the asset from the PC version to the console version, make a few optimizations, but overall, motorbikes just run off low grade, which is already in the game, and as I've said before, they could just make the motorbikes go as fast as a thoroughbred horse with the high quality horseshoes, which is still quite fast, and it would still get you from A to B, and it would be a lot easier than having a horse because you wouldn't have to worry about the horse stamina. So I am leaning more towards motorbikes being in this update. However, we definitely shouldn't cross off any other possibilities. The developers have actually sent out several surveys in the past talking about what we would potentially want to see in the game, and on those surveys I have specifically personally seen minicopters and modular vehicles mentioned, so it's definitely something the developers are aware of, and they definitely know that we want that. We want to see minis, we want to see vehicles, we want everything the PC version has, and that's not an unreasonable ask because this is still the same game. Rust Console Edition is still Rust PC, just a couple years behind, and slowly but surely we are catching up. We just need the developers to start pumping out these updates and really communicate to us as well about what's coming. Now, the developers have said to us on multiple different occasions that this is going to be a big update. If we look back at last February, we had the Underground Assault update, and we actually had a lot of content in that one as well. well. We had the military tunnels monument, we had 3 new weapons, the prototype pistol, the handmade LMG and the M4 shotgun. We had night vision goggles, the downstate, the improved nightlight system. And this update showed us just how much the developers can deliver, and that's the stage we're at now as well. We're waiting for that first big update of the year, and I think it's definitely going to be around the same size, if not bigger. I know I specifically would like to see the new weapons from the PC version in this update. I think it would be great to at least see the tier 1 SMG and the 4-shot mini crossbow. This would definitely put an emphasis on tier 1 fights, as currently they're just conducted really with crossbow, nail gun, maybe you see the odd revolver and also DBs, but I would love to see a little bit of a meta shift to the tier 1 fights in the game, and adding the handmade SMG and the 4-shot mini crossbow would actually affect that, and it would be nice to see that shift to early game progression. I also think at the very least as well, we should hopefully get hot air balloons, because at least that's some different kind of transportation, and it is still air transportation as well. So if I am going to set my expectations at the lowest for vehicles, hopefully we can at least get hot air balloons, as it will still add a bit of a shift to the game. It will still allow us to get on players' roofs, it will still allow us to have aerial gunfights, so it still will change up the game a little bit. However, of course, as a community we do want more than that. Overall, I do think that there is a lot riding on this update. We haven't seen a big update on Rust Console Edition adding new content for many months, and I think the community is at a point where we're all just waiting to see what's next. Now, I did put out a poll about 6 days ago now, asking what the community would like to see in the next big update, and I did find that quite surprising. I know, for instance, a lot of people want the next gen version of the game, but from the poll I put out, a staggering 67% of people voted for that next gen version, with 19% voting for minicopters, 10% voting for new weapons, and 5% for new monuments. And I do think that the next gen version, being what 67% of people voted they would want to see, is quite interesting, because having a next gen version of the game wouldn't specifically mean new content. It would just mean leaving the old generation consoles behind and probably getting some form of a graphics update. So I think it's quite important if we look at it from the side of, okay, we haven't had a big update in, let's say, 4-5 months, right? And we are all waiting on more content, but at this point in time, 67% of people would still rather not get any specific content, just get a next gen version and get those better graphics over actually getting minicopters or new monuments or new weapons. I do think that's really important to mention, because I do think it goes to show a lot about where the community is at right now, and I do think the developers are in a position where they do need to communicate with us a lot more about what's coming to the game. We as a community do voice our opinions, we do let them know what we want to see, and it would just be nice to know that we are being listened to and they are at least hearing our comments. For example, whenever the Rust Console Edition Twitter page actually posts a new tweet, I always see someone post a next gen petition for people to sign, and I think it goes to show that the community really do want this next gen version, and it would just be nice to get some kind of communication from the developers on this. They don't even have to say, okay, we're going to give it to you. Even if they say, okay, we can't do that right now, it would just be good to hear that directly from them, so at least then we're not left in the dark about if we're getting this or not. But these are just my thoughts on Rust Console Edition as we move towards the first major update of 2025. We really won't know anything till the developers put out their next post, but hopefully it will be something substantial for the game, and as soon as it is posted, I will be covering that here on the channel on day one, so please make sure you are all subscribed for that. As always with these things, I think it's important to temper your expectations, as I always say that it's a lot better to be surprised by something good than let down because we were expecting too much. I do think this update will be massive, but until we know what's coming, it's hard to get too excited for that. So I think we should all remain calm, we wait and see what is presented to us, and then hopefully it is the most craziest thing we've ever seen. But for now, I have been Fluxified. I hope you have all enjoyed this video. As always, please be sure to like and subscribe. I have a ton of more videos coming, but for now, I have been Fluxified, and I'll see you on the beach.